Good morning on a lovely day, back up from Birmingham back to West Yorkshire, where it's been raining, it's been sunshine, it's nearly been snowing, it's been windy. You don't know whether to wear sunscreen or flippers today, put it that way. I just wanted to make a video in regards to Carter Class 1. It's something that I did myself back in January. I passed my test this year. As soon as the announcement was made last year, tried to look into it. Obviously there's a lot more information now, people are doing it. But if it's worth it, and the difference between a lot of people saying that it could affect the quality of drivers coming through. I think there's pros and cons to both of it, but I just wanted to give you my timeline and my experiences before, and then how I found it going onto the job. So I previous to this had a courier company with a business partner. We had long wheelbase vans, flatbeds, and then later got into 7.5 ton on rigid and flatbed, curtsider, sorry, and flatbed. So I had a good idea of the haulage kind of industry, how to strap stuff, weights, loading, how to load, how to strap down, how to chain down, how to rope down, but you don't really rope now with the differences in straps, etc. And also long distance driving in a van. Obviously you're supposed to work by working time regulations, but as you can see, majority of companies that even do own trucks and have all licenses, when they've got 3.5 ton curtsiders or normal vans in the fleet, they tend to work over, especially what the drivers will do have to be tachographed. I know it's obviously it had a big like media burst last year about the lack of drivers in the industry. I come from a family of drivers before. Me personally, I didn't. I used to be in sales and account management until opened that business just after COVID came about. Good opportunity, worked on what I used to know, which was account management, and growing our business and our customer base. HGV, like I say, is something that's always been in my bloodline. My granddad used to do it. He used to be a coach driver, long distance driver. My dad, his license is as long as your arm, all the way I'm catching him up now, and pretty much out with an engine he can get in and he can drive. So yeah, Carter Class 1, I know a lot of older drivers will say, yeah, it's not good getting people straight from a car back into a 44 ton HGV that could be a curtsider, a box, a flat, a tipper, back and drag, loads of different types. Obviously Class 1 you can get into, and so when this first came about last summertime, I wanted to obviously to go straight to it. But a big thing for me about getting my HGV license was having to go from that to class 2, to pass Class 2, and then to go to Class 1. For one, it's time, it's money, and it's overall it's just a long process to do. So I booked I went with a company called L&T in Wakefield, and they did like a starter package. Cost me around about £350. Out of that, I went down for the morning. I had to take my license, fill in some paperwork. There were a doctor that came on site there, so I got my medical done there and then, which is what you need to do before you get a provisional license. Quite a few companies do this, where they do like kind of a starter package, because you have got to do quite a few bits. And same as anything, you'll do one, you'll forget about it, then you'll just carry on. So if you can get one of these starter packages, definitely recommend to do it. So yeah, we went, like I say, went with an L&T, went down one morning. I think it was September time last year, so 2021. Went and filled in the paperwork, did my medical, everything all right on that. The doctor, you had to do check your blood pressure, your height, your weight. Even though I'm a short, fat guy, I went all right. Then a little eye test that you have to do. To be fair, the doctor wasn't even really looking at you, it was just more of a tick box exercise, I believe. And obviously it makes you feel good on a Saturday morning for doing it. But I think obviously they're there for a reason, in case there's anything, a guy walks in with one arm or something like that, and if he can't do it, then it is what it is. so you go in and your medical, that lasts you until you're 45, I believe, and then after 45 you have to have it every 5 years after that. So then you send your provisional off, which they did, and then a few weeks later you get your provisional back. Then that gives you then a provisional entitlement to be able to drive anything. Well, we used to be obviously to class 2 when your provisional entitlement for class 1. Now obviously you've got your HGV, you've got your provisional entitlement. Then through that company they also book the theory test for you. Now the theory test, I'm sure you've had a look at a few videos, there's 3 parts to that. Your first part is your multiple choice questions. Your multiple choice is 100 questions. Out of that I think it's around about 85 that you've got to pass. Don't quote me exactly, but around 85. I'm just giving you a rough guide to it, top of my head from what my experiences. And then you've got 25 hazard awareness clips, which is the same ones that you do for car, you just do more of them. Personally, they're a lot better, I believe, now than what they used to be, because your hazard awareness, it's all 3D, whereas when I first passed my car test about 13-14 years ago, well, someone who strapped a video camera to the front of his car, went round, drove like a dick, or waiting for people to pull out on him. Pretty much like I've just been to Birmingham for the day, so pretty much what you get there most of the time. I'm joking, it's not that bad of a place. So you do that, and then you have your case studies, which is 10 case studies followed by questions. Now the case studies just based on that just tell you a scenario, and then after that scenario it might be about 2 paragraphs long. You read it all. It's Bob starts work, he forgets his taco card, while he's on there he has an accident and drives off, also runs out of his driving hours and carries on driving, etc. And then afterwards I'll ask you questions in regards to it, like kind of what he's done wrong, and what would you do in that situation if you'd have done the same thing as what Bob did. Most people have probably been chuffing sack, to be honest with you. He's especially one of the ones that I got. Also, there's some stupid stuff. You're driving in France, and what rules and procedures you need to follow to make sure as a foreign driver that you're keeping up to date with their legislation. I didn't know that, kind of blagged that question, but I seem to get it right. A lot of it is general knowledge, but part of the starter package that I got, you also got an online course for your case studies, for your general knowledge, and for your hazard awareness. So definitely spend some time on that, because there's some questions that might not be relevant now, but they're still in there, they're still the questions, so just go through as many as you can. And there's plenty of apps out there now. I can't remember the exact name of the one that they did, but I know it offered HGV or PSV for your buses for the same questions. Sorry, for the same courses. So certainly, make sure you practice on them, because there is some questions that will just throw you completely out. Same as when you're in there, especially 100 questions, it's just one and another. And make sure you spend enough time as well. If you can get them all done at the same time, get them done. That's what I did. Got it all boxed off, and you've got your 3 parts to your theory side of it. So I passed that. That were a big wait for that. When September, I think it was November time, that were the first dates that they could get me in, all in one go. Again, this was the time where car to class 1 had just come out, and I know it's still busy now, but I'm sure they'll put some more dates on us going forward. And then that also, for that £350 you got £100 off your course time. Now that was it's just obviously to keep them with you, so you call them up after you pass your theory, and they try book you on a course. I passed in November. They were looking around about February, March time before they could get me booked in for anything, so they had like a 5-6 month lead time. And again, this just goes down into the overall waiting to get going. I know a lot of people, when they're thinking about it, they want to get it done straight away. Lifestyle, things change, and I'm a very impatient person as well, so I just wanted to get it done and dusted. So I had a look around at a call round. It was pretty much the same for anybody coming up to Christmas. Really, really busy with people in. Obviously, a lot of test centres book slots. Sorry, practice centres book test slots. but then you'll tend to find for one wagon they're going to only have one person in with them. I know quite a few of them have started doing like two-manning, so you've got one instructor, two people, and you go for like a week there, which I personally wouldn't like. And I know that my driving instructor that I went with, he left the company for that reason. We're just trying to capitalise on the money and the demand, and they're putting two people in one go. And like he said, everybody's at different levels. If you come literally from a car, you've never driven a van, which again is good experience, but if you've only driven a van, you get used to van habits. So it's everybody works same as your car. Everybody has different lessons, different times that they work with. So I ended up going with a company in Tockwith called Go Training. They're predominantly used to do trailer training for caravans, etc. But obviously with car to class 1, when they change that, they also give people the trailer entitlement back. So when I passed my test, I couldn't have a trailer over, I think it was 750 kilogram, whereas everybody now can have an auto entitlement if they pass the test to drive it up to 3.5 ton gross weight on a trailer, which I think it's a lot, to be honest with you. People with caravans, again, if you've never driven one, you can just now put a caravan on your back and go tunnelling off down road with no training whatsoever, which if you want to do that, that's up to you, and that's why they give it to. But obviously your old entitlement people used to be able to drive 7.5 tonners just on a standard license, which again, 7.5 tonners, the big old vehicles, once you get inside them, can drive completely different to a car. Obviously now, even with an old entitlement, you're still bound by doing your CPC, etc. So they've still got to do training to be able to know driver's hours. The company that I had before, we had somebody with grandfather rights. We made sure we put him through a CPC, just so he's got like his driver's hours, he knows what he's doing. Because obviously that going on our RO license then affects people, well, it affects the owners of the business, it affects the drivers, and you've got to make sure everything you do is done right, simple as that. Yeah, I finally found this Go Training to talk with. I think that cost me around about £2,400 for 5 days worth of training. It wasn't the cheapest out there by far. You could get some that around about £1,600–1,700 for the week. And that was a 5-day course, started on the Monday, which was a bank holiday, straight away after Christmas, the first week after New Year. Started on a Monday, and I expected a bit of time in a class 2, maybe a day or so, and then moving on to class 1. The instructor took me out in the class 2 in a Iveco 18 ton, kind of like a Tesco's 18 ton you see knocking about. I had just yard driven an Iveco 7.5 ton before, so I knew kind of how to set most things up. So we went out for that literally around about an hour. He said, right, let's go back, let's get into Arctic, which obviously very daunting for the first time, even though I've driven some bigger vehicles before. Once you see the size up close, once you're getting into it and you're in charge of it, that's when corners look very, very small, that's when cars look very, very small, and it's time to bloody concentrate and go. But my instructor were very good in that respect. I did it from up in Wetherby, which I know a lot of kind of like East Yorkshire go to Wetherby, because it's predominantly trucks that they do up there. They do cars, but it's predominantly heavy goods vehicles that they do up there at the test centre. We spent this first day just driving around, just driving in Wetherby area. So I'd be cutting corners, he'd take us back round again and he'd show me where I cut them, how I cut them, and what I need to do to approach. One big thing that really got for me, obviously when you learn how to drive, it's how you cannot make anybody slow down or change direction, whereas in a wagon you have to do. So if you need to take 2 lanes up when you're coming down round a bend, you have to take them up and you have to kind of bully your way into it, not in an arsehole way. Obviously you look who's around you, approach around, but you've got to take the corners when you've got to take them. You're a big old wagon, same as down a tight street. If you come log ahead with a car, you sit there and you wait until they move. You're in an articulated lorry. You're not going to be able to reverse around the park and just go behind the car. So that type of thing is for me, one of the biggest learning curves. Apart from obviously the sheer size, you're driving it straight, it goes in a straight line. As long as you keep an eye on your mirrors, because obviously whatever's following you behind, it has got a slightly different angle it must take for it, etc. cutting in, which I think, again, people that drive vans all the time, they're used to driving longer vehicles, they're used to reversing longer vehicles, but when you get into obviously an articulated wagon, it's a completely different kettle of fish, just with the sheer size and how it drives. So my 5 days consisted of also doing my reversing and uncoupling exercise, which was done at the area where they were base go training with a different instructor, because now to get people passing quicker, they allow instructors to be able to do the different mods. So with that was one of the biggest things that I was obviously a little bit scared, not scared of doing, but a bit hesitant, because obviously reversing is a minefield, obviously, with an Arctic lorry. 1 inch on the steering wheel is a foot behind you, so it does make a difference, which I'll come on to in a little bit about Arctic Class 1. But it's so organised when you do it there. So you have marker points, so when you're practicing, it's literally go half a steering lock to your left, and then wait until you see your trailer marker point in your mirror, then you go full lock right, wait until you see the cone, and then straighten it back up, then half lock again, keep it going. And they tend to put markers on the back of the trailer, so again, judging the distance, I thought, well, you only get 2 opportunities, I'm absolutely going to smash that barrier off behind or hit the cone, etc. from behind me. But they tend to put little markers on the mud flaps at the back, which you can see, which as soon as you hit kind of like the red line where your back trailer needs to go over to, that's when to stop. So when I saw that, I was like, well, you don't see many trainers telling you that when you have a look at different training videos on YouTube, etc. But it absolutely put me at ease doing that maneuver. And then the uncoupling, I'd had a look and looked at some training videos, so your black or your black P, so you just make sure you stick to that. So it's your brakes, it's your legs, your air, your clip, and then your kingpin, and then you just go the opposite way around again for your uncoupling. So that side of it, I thought quite easy. The next one, I had to go to the test centre, where you had to do your walk around, part of your CPC. You walk around, they can ask you multiple questions there, so I had to do like show me your daily check, which you have a list and a check sheet that you can take with you with that, so it'll show you, like, when you get into the cab, you're making sure your lights are on, making sure that your wheels are all any indicator markers you've got, or the outside walls of the tyres, making sure they're milled thread all the way through. But you are allowed, like I say, for that one, when they ask you to do that, you are allowed to have a piece of paper with a checklist on there. I did it at the test centre, so the guy who I had were like, well, have you missed anything? And I was like, well, you're questioning me now. So obviously I was nervous, which you're going to be in that week. But I ended up passing it, and I think it was just a bit of dick, if I'm honest with you, but that depends on who you get. After that, again, most of it in between, it was just going down the test routes, going in and out, any problem areas, like Knaresborough, for instance, is obviously a small village that you go through, so there's certain corners, roundabouts, etc., which you need to watch out for to take you on the test routes. And overall, just getting a feel of driving. Again, they do teach you to pass a test, but it's just getting out there. The more you do it, the more confident you get, the easier it comes along. So yeah, it came to test day. I think I was probably ready on the Thursday to have my test, but again, while you're there, an extra day's driving is an extra day. You can go over something else that you're unsure of. And then so I did. Then I did my test in the morning, passed. I had a couple of minors, which were both blind spot checks, which I had one of them when I passed my car. It just overemphasised everything. When you're on your test, you're able to use all of the gadgets and gizmos that the trucks have. Obviously now, I mean, I'm in a DAF XF at the moment, but on this you've got adaptive cruise control, which you can use in the test. You've got assisted hill start. You've got that much, technology now to be able to help. Some of the Mercs have got like lane assisting, when obviously you need to keep your hands on your steering wheel. Again, with the manoeuvres, it's not like a car test, so you don't have to keep your hands at exactly at 10 to 2, etc. like they used to tell you with a car. So it's a lot more relaxed than that. But basically just making sure that you're safe to go out on the road, and if you need to make a decision, you make a decision, and you're not just going to bow down to peer pressure with driving some the size of what these are. So then passed my test, brilliant, absolutely, you know, fantastic. Got it. You also get your CPC for your first 5 years. The things that they don't teach you though, which I think they should, is I'm kind of surprised nobody's, like big training providers, have picked up on this, and if you do, I want the commission. But I can't believe there isn't companies that really do like a transition course then from car to class 1, where you get to learn to become a driver, or learn to become like a wagon driver. So while you're doing your lessons, it teaches you nothing about your driving hours. It teaches you don't have to run on tacho. I mean, obviously your tacho, what I would say is make sure you can get your tacho card at any point, and then it just runs out. I think it's 5 years, 10 years. So I think it's 5. So your tacho card, order that as soon as you've got your provisional license, or even when you're looking to do it. It's about £25. You just do it online, they send it out to you, then you've got it, so you're ready to go. Last thing you want to do is get past, get all your CPC, your license through, then I need to wait 2 weeks for a tacho. You know what it's like, for every now and again they'll be having strikes or something, so it could take forever. So whereas if you've got your driving time, and you can't go out without that, so you need your drivers, you need your card, so just make sure you've got that before. But yeah, so the big thing that is after that is actually learning what you need to do once you're out on the road. For likes of the driving hours, I mean, I'm lucky, like I say, my dad's been a driver, we've worked with drivers, so, but even though we've worked with drivers, I'd not done my CPC, I'd not been out driving myself, so I was still kind of unsure about your driving time as a whole. So for instance, your working time, because when you're driving, you have to work to a working time directive, which I'll find out some more information to go through it all in detail. I just don't want to say off the top of my head and get it wrong for anybody, but you're only allowed to work so many hours, obviously within a day, within a week, within a 2-week period, exactly the same as your driving time. You're only allowed to work so long over a period of time. Now, one thing I would recommend, which does cover things like driving time and tacho machines, is that there's a new beginner's guide handbook on Amazon, which I know Luke's seen HGV, is sponsored by them, so he says it all the time. Definitely get that and have a read through it, because it does tell you quite a lot of stuff. So 100% get you sent that. But in regards to your brakes, in regards to your you're allowed to split your brakes, so you're allowed 15 minutes, which covers you for your first 6.5 hours or 6 hours worth of working, but then you've still got to have your extra half an hour. It has to be in that way, so you can't have half an hour within 15 minutes. So like your working hours, loads of people have done loads of videos exactly the same on them, but definitely make sure you look at them, because infringements end up affecting your driver's score, which some people that do downloads on digicards give them that, which can affect you getting a job, or can affect you staying with an agency, or affect you staying with certain places. So definitely look at that. And another one is in regards to, obviously, your parking and just generally driving around. When you're learning to do, when you're learning in your test, you're learning to be able to reverse literally into an S-bend and then go in there. So that's completely different. Some truck spotters. So yeah, it teaches you how to do round into like an S-bend. It certainly doesn't teach you when it's your first shift out there, going into a tight bay with 2 wagons at the side of you. It doesn't teach you how to strap a load. It doesn't teach you how to do curtains on a curtain sider. It doesn't teach you how to use an electronic pump truck, or for some people even a normal pump truck. It doesn't teach you how to use a tail lift. There's that much stuff that once you get into this industry, you need to know, or you need to have an idea of doing. What really made me do this is I spoke to a lad yesterday who was working for the same agency that I do. I only do 3 days a week with an agency because I've got other business interests. For one, it's experience, too, it's a bit of money, agency money, why not? I'm going to start around about 4 o'clock, I'm done for 12 o'clock, so why not spend my time doing it, and gaining more and more experience as well. But he struggled with places where he's had to ask people to get in his wagon and to park for him. He's gone to not know how to strap up where a load's fallen over in the back of his wagon. He's used there were quite a few stories that he was saying that were just like, damn, you know, you've gone in, you've literally seen I want to be a wagon driver, you've seen all these advertisements of can earn all this money, but you really haven't looked in to what you need to do once you do it. And that's potentially not his fault, he's gone with an agency. When you learn, when you knew you want to learn, but there's that many different types of things you could be doing. To go on as a new starter, to go in with a company, but again, I think he only wanted to do a few days a week. I'm lucky that I've had the experience of having the haulage experience before, knowing how to strap a load, knowing about proper weight distribution, which you do on your questions, but you don't go into full detail on your theory and your CPC, etc. And a lot of times when you are an agency driver, it's right, watch this video that says our way that we drive. It means you're not going to fall off a cliff, you're going to be able, if it's all to do with any problems, it's your problem. It doesn't really show people how to do it, and then they chuck you some keys and say, right, crack on. Because the only reason that they've got an agency in is either they can't get the staff themselves, staff have called in sick, so they're already under cosh. So a lot of agency, you go in, it's like, have you worked before, have you done this before, right, there's your keys, there's your trouble, but piss off. And that genuinely does happen. They're not bothered if you're brand new and you don't really have a clue. If you really go and ask them, but again, you think to yourself by that point, I've passed my test, I should kind of know this, or some people do, until you get into a situation where you make a mistake, you make something wrong, then you lose all your confidence to what you've got. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, there's quite a few companies if you want to do it full time afterwards, but they will, they'll show you their training, their way that they do it. But again, it'll tend to probably be only on one type of, like, if it's a curtain side, you'll just be doing curtain, it might just be general haulage, it might just be containers, etc. But obviously, especially with an agency, which a lot of people says, oh, get some experience with an agency, a lot of places want to see you or want you to have a year's experience. Now, a year's experience, it means you're having your license for a year. They're not going to look through your taco card and say to you, oh, you've never worked in that year. They just want that time for the insurance. It might be 12 months. Some that do take on new drivers tends to be because they really need the people, they're paying a little bit less, or it's just that other people just don't want to do it and their insurance allows them to. But you do see some awful videos of people that just passed trying to do stuff and out of no fault of their own getting it wrong. When you do come into reversing into your bay for the first time, you will absolutely shit yourself, 100%. There's nobody that does it first time like, boom, look at me. Not a chance. It's going to be months before you actually think to yourself, I'm looking forward to this, because other than that, you're going to be going up to a load thinking, right, it's coming up now, I hope there's no link yard, I hope this bay's free, I hope that bay's free, I hope they just come and they just say park it there and it's in and out in that respect, because it's nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking when you go to a big RDC or even a little one, when you've got to push the wagon to places, and again with the articulator you might have to do a proper jackknife round, so you don't know how far that can take, so you're just thinking, am I going to break something here? Which certainly I feel like, I think everybody does, until you get to know exactly how it goes. But these are the things that it doesn't teach you. It's these bits of asking for help and being able to do it, and also learning the thing that you're going, the thing that you're on. I mean, another thing that one of the lads said is, I mean, I've got a TomTom truck sat nav. People just use the phones. You know, you're in something that's 14'2". You know, you get low bridges, you get diversions. You need to really plan on what you're doing, because you're not in a van or you're not in a car where you can just go. If there's a diversion, you just follow Google and it just goes off the other way. So there is a hell of a lot after to think about. What, you know, when you've passed your test going along. So I mean, I know a few people that have, well, I know a couple of people at least that have done it and just don't. They've gone back to smaller vehicles because they either can't get the experience, or once they have had the experience, they don't like it once they're out there. But everybody gets on with it, and everybody will do it. I mean, one of the biggest things is if you mess up on reversing, you'll get it eventually. Don't give up. Don't give up. If anybody's looking at you, laughing at you, whatever, they've all been there. No, like I say, absolutely nobody does it first time. That's it, they've smashed it. So you absolutely will get it. But like I was saying, I just can't believe there isn't a place that once you have finished your training and passed your test, that they don't show you how to go on a bay, how to use a fridge trailer, how to use a double deck trailer, how to bring it down, how to use Anderson leads. Just like I said, the overall differences, because it's a big investment, and there's not many companies compared to like bus drivers, which First or Arriva that'll put you through your test and put you in a bus. But there's most people who tend to take their HGV have gone straight and they've paid for it themselves. They've either saved up money and they've got a loan, and there's loads of financing options now that people do. So there's lots and lots of different opportunities that people go and do this on their own. I would say go absolutely do it. You know, it's an industry that still the average age is well over 50, I believe. You can earn some really good money from it. Also, before you do it, go and have a look where you might be staying. If you want to tramp and you want to earn 1,200–1,300 quid a week, go and have a look at some of the shitholes where people stay. Go and have a look at the truck stops that used to be open and now aren't. Go and look at the toilet and the facilities that some of them have to do. Because some people, if they're used to home comforts, they have to live in a truck for a week. They go see some of the states and some of the places that they've got no choice but to stay in, and then they might think again, really, do you know about the industry, which I know is something that a lot of drivers are trying to kick off about, and I know that truck stops etc. are a dying place. But it's not like you come and you stay in the Hilton afterwards. I mean, this is a nice truck in XF. It's a fairly new truck. I don't tramp in here, but I'll quite easily sleep in this. But there is certainly what you get with some agency work, where on one of my first shifts I were in a Mercedes Actros, and you won't want to sit out there, you sit on the lane and you won't sleep on it, because they're literally just they're constantly churning out all the time. But if you're in a distribution centre waiting 5 hours to get unloaded, you might want to get your head down. So yeah, the standards can be absolutely and completely different as well than what some people do. It's not absolutely not to put off, it's just the things that people I think need to think about. They're thinking, yeah, I want to be a truck driver because I've seen you can earn 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 quid a week or whatever, and like I said, absolutely the money's there, but there tends to be reasons why. But I just wanted to, like I said, just give my little tail into my car to class 1. It's doable, absolutely doable. I think the learning needs to carry on before and after you take your test. It's not just about your learning of passing your test, passing your CPC. I mean, also passing your theory test. There's a hell of a lot out there that you need to learn for yourself before you go out. Otherwise, it's just going to make life a hell of a lot difficult for you. It was just about thinking about it. Someone asked me a few questions about it, so I thought I'd just make a quick video on it, and hopefully it'll help some people out looking to do it. Alright, thank you. So yeah, just decided to get my GoPro back out. I've done a few different videos on YouTube before, but certainly with HGV, that's a new thing for me, showing what I've been doing, obviously my experiences on there. Everyone's obviously completely different, but I do a few more of these because it does get a little bit boring as well when you're on your own just driving. There's so much radio you can do, radio you can listen to, etc. So yeah, I might do a few more videos like this. If anyone's got any questions about that, let me know. Anybody want a video on it specific, let me know. With wagons are out. I'll see if I can help out. Like I said, I'm still new. I've only been past what 10 months, so I'm nowhere near a veteran driver like a lot of people out there. So I'll still get stuff wrong myself, but always there to learn. I watch other things myself on YouTube to try out me if I'm making a decision or if I don't know anything. It's always first point of call, isn't it? But yeah, I think I'm going to try to do a few more different types of videos, and something a little bit fun to do in between it as well. So yeah, hopefully see you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you have got this far, well, congratulations. If there's any questions, Rob, let me know and I'll see if I can answer them. Thank you very much.